Our first 4 days of racing this season here at Woodbine on a cool November-like day. It is Jeff Bratt joined by Elisa Blow. I was listening to the news the other day and they were saying this is the coldest 3-day stretch late in May since 1967.
Are you kidding?
Do you know what happened in 1967?
No, because we weren't alive.
The Stanley Cup belonged to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's the last time they won it.
Wow.
You went home, and I was so proud of you. You went home, you watched the Leaf game, you were texting your dad, he was watching the game. How long did you last?
Till it was 2-0. And then I changed the channel. Yeah, because there was like a good old movie on or something, and I went that way. Jeff, I have my long johns on, and I have 2 layers up on top. I'm freezing, and we've talked about this so many times this year. It's just a horrible roller coaster for our horses.
Yeah, it is.
They just don't know what to do. You know, like one day they're sweating, then the next day they're freezing. Like for example, today, or even let's say Monday, Tuesday, yesterday for sure, they probably had blankets on in the stalls. And not just a Baker, probably a Baker and maybe even a winter blanket on some of these horses that got clipped. And now today, here we are in this cold weather. And this is what we're looking at for the next few days.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's ugly. The only good news is, for once, we kind of lucked out by not having turf racing this week.
It's true.
Because it would have been washed off anyways. But there is turf in the book for next week, which is fantastic. And speaking of that, we'll take a look at our schedule for you, just to keep you updated on what exactly is going on time-wise, because you would have laughed at me yesterday. I think I changed my alarm like 5 times last time. Like, well, do I need to get there for this time? Should I be there for that? And then what time?
And then traffic
was awful as well. So we're racing 4 days a week now. Do note that the early pick 5 every weekend will have a pool of $100,000 guaranteed. On Thursdays and Fridays, the pool will be guaranteed at $50,000.
Correct.
So do make that change in your wagering psyche.
Well, and hopefully people adjusted to the time change for today too, and if they haven't, they'll figure it out sooner or later, because if they tune in around 4 o'clock, they're going to find out we're racing already. But I did read an article in the Daily Racing Forum that Ron Geerkink wrote, where he talked to the VP of racing here, and I think the decision had a lot to do with, you know, maybe that there was a nice gap that we could fit into by moving our post time up, but also we don't run into our sister track Mohawk.
Go head to head with Mohawk all the time too. Yeah, so that's a great thing too. But yeah, I got here way too early. Like even with the traffic, I was here like at 11 o'clock.
What?
I'm like, I opened up the paddock. I walked a couple of horses after they breezed this morning.
You might as well come and walk a few in the morning.
I got here way too. I'm just too excited to be with you.
Is that really what it is, Jeff?
No, I just timed it very poorly, very poorly. But that's the way it goes. But as per usual, we have a lot of topics that we're going to go through here on the jam-packed edition of Woodbine Racing Live, and we're going to start things off with pair of W's. You might be saying, what the heck does that mean? Well, there's this early trend that has started here at Woodbine that's very unusual, and it's the number of repeat winners we've had so far this meet.
Don't you think it's odd how many we have so far? Because it's not like 1 or 2, it's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The one on top, though, is a multiple stakes placed winner already, and that's Brindy for Kelsey Danner, who's come in twice now and won stakes events with Sophia Vivez aboard. Garnet and Gold is an Adamo horse for Icon. That's something I'd be interested in taking a look at too. We'd just have to ask the bookkeeper's office to give us the stats on that. But how many horses do you think Icon has claimed? And we're only on to day, 9? I'd say they've taken at least a dozen horses.
Yeah, and here's a look at Brindy's performance last time out in the Ruling Angel Stakes, and she was all guts to get there. And you know, speaking of people off to great starts, obviously Sophia Vivez off to a really nice start. Pietro right now is there, so Ian Savacci right there in the mix of things too. Bob Tiller, I was talking with Steve Flint the other day. He's like, man, Bob Tiller, all he does is win races.
Yeah, but he's putting them in the right spots. You know, it's unfortunate because he had one today that looks super logical, but that one's a scratch.
He's got one on the board there, Go-Kart Mozart.
Go-Kart Mozart, and you'll get some references off of that horse for this weekend on a couple of horses. Gizmo's BFF is a great horse for Debbie Rhombus. Like, talk about the storyline there. There's a horse who never won a race last year and is now a perfect 2 for 2 so far this season.
Now, if you're a believer that the trend's going to continue, we've got 3 horses on today's program that could double up. Hanlon, the 3 in race 5, and
You're not even going to take a shot
I can
on
never
it,
say the horse's name right at all, so I don't want to just totally butcher it. And then Get Out the Vote in race number 4 tomorrow in Secret Butterfly. I like Get Out the Vote tomorrow on the
I
program.
like Get Out the Vote tomorrow too because he's doing what I like. You know, he broke his maiden for, I can't remember what it was, if it was 16 or somewhere around there, 16, 20, and he's dropping to face winners for the first time.
Cass is doing that same thing on Saturday with one of his horses
and
too.
I put that horse up on top actually on the Saturday program. Who was the other horse that's on tomorrow's card?
Secret Butterfly.
Secret Butterfly, and that's going to be a fluke if it happens to happen because that horse won via a disqualification.
And you know what, Secret Butterfly was lucky that one didn't get disqualified because that rider went from the rail to the 6th path like that.
There's a replay to show. But look good, I will say. The horse looked gorgeous in the walking ring.
Time to scratch your head. Scratches.
We'll be doing a bit of that tonight.
Because we do have a scratch that you just spoke of it. You know, it's a key one. And it's a horse that both you and I would have keyed in our pick 4s today, and that is Home for a Rest.
Yeah, so, you know, we send in our selections, we send in replays, that type of thing to our, our broadcast team upstairs. And I just thought, you know, here's a replay we can show on this Home for a Rest. But it's okay, because originally we were going to trash that, but then I said, no, because the horse who I picked for second, I think you probably have the horse in for second as well, Quiet Madalena, comes out of the same race, so why not keep the replay and show it? So here's our horse in the middle of the pack, easy to spot there with the white bridle. This is a Steve Chirkop trainee. That's a barn that's off to a really good start this season too. This is Raffy, who's aboard for this, the first start back here at Woodbine back on May the 3rd. Now, the winner is one of the coolest horses on the grounds, and that's Storm, because she came from the back of the pack to end up getting the win. But Quiet Madalena doesn't run a bad race. Remember, she was winter race. She has a little bit of an edge over some of the others at this stage in the game because she went to Charlestown, she went to Penn, but she was put away early back on February the 27th. So, you know, she's slightly freshened up, we can say, coming into this race today. So she gets the top spot by virtue of the scratch of the 5, Home for a Rest, and then I just kind of bumped everybody up.
And I just think too, Lisa, I just think it's a much easier group of horses today. Like, and the Stolen, like, that's a tough
She's a
horse.
great horse.
And now you're dropping from the optional 15, you're in for a dime.
Yeah.
You might be able to control things up front. There's not an overabundance of speed in this race.
And then you look at the rest of the field, Jeff, and you're thinking to yourself, really, like, I don't know about this Phil Hall horse, Shamrock, because the horse is coming in from Hastings, and we just aren't 100% sure necessarily where the Hastings horses fit.
Yeah.
You know, is this where this horse fits, or eventually will this be more of a Fort Erie horse? You know, because again, this horse is coming in from a dirt track too. The only one that really kind of I put a circle around as a possibility is the Ross horse, and that's Mia Tormenta, Ross Armada's horse, because she did run well fresh. Last year. She ran well fresh on April 26th as well.
Back when Elisa was in her college days, she was very familiar with this song because it would come on right around the time that she was to go home, because it was a song called Closing Time.
Oh, yes. I was going to say Rasputin.
So we're going to do a little closing time right now, because you're going to focus in on a horse that does like to come from off the pace, and this is One Jab Too Many. And how about Dale Diversole? Really nice stakes win with him today.
Win.
And this is the jockey trainer combo that teamed up for that win with Church and States.
Exactly. And don't you find, Jeff, that anytime we see Raffy with Dale, you've got to pay attention, because they actually have a really high strike rate. They win at a 25% clip. This is the first start back for this horse on April the 26th. And you and I were excited to see her return in her 3-year-old campaign, because last year as a 2-year-old, we quite enjoyed watching her race. I mean, she always tries. Watch this big closing kick. She tries to do something that Stolen was able to do, but watch this big closing kick from this filly back on the 26th, where she ends up finishing second behind Sinclarity, who was a winner from the Kevin Attard barn. I think we're going to see Sinclarity over the weekend as well. So here's my other thing, and I'm just throwing it out there. I was mentioning it to Jeff off camera earlier on. This filly ran really well. And then after that, Dale had some horses that, like when I interviewed him the other day, he said, you know, hit the goalpost, but there were some horses that we thought would run better that didn't. And I'm just wondering, because we know Church and State had a virus and was sick, and that's why the horse had to scratch out of the Woodstock, that, you know, viruses sometimes don't just go to one horse. Oftentimes, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them get it, and there's an issue, obviously, because you have a whole bunch of horses that might have snotty noses. But this one ran early and looked great racing, so I'll go back to her here today. But I think maybe watch for those DeRusso horses next start out. Just wondering if maybe something might have went through the barn.
It's valid. It's very valid. Executive success is probably the huge question mark, trying to fit in where she fits in here into the mix of things. She's coming up from Gulfstream off of Safi Joseph, and I'll go towards Kevin Attard's charge from this spot. Just the way that Kevin's barn's going right now, it's hard.
You can't knock the barn, but the only discouraging thing on that horse's chart line is the fact that the second place horse, Satori, did not race well on the drop. Well, race okay on the drop for 25.
But the third place finisher came back to win, Saratoga Holiday.
Right, so you get a little bit of everything. I really thought that Satori horse would run off the screen the other day.
It's not ideal. There's no question about that.
But then again, Jeff, okay, let's talk about this. It's rained for the last, 3 days?
What's the track going to be like? Yeah, don't know. One thing I do know is, you and I were talking about this as well earlier, this next race we're going to focus on, this allowance race is going to be called the We Don't Want to Run Against Patches and Houlihan, and there's Jacques Cartier. Everybody's avoiding Patches, and they're going into this spot instead. And thankfully, this turned out to be a lovely race.
Yeah, because you had 3 horses, I think, that were nominated. The one, Sky's Not Falling, the Trombetta horse, who I think is a grass horse down the line. The 4, I'm a Gambler, who's the Kevin horse who ran 3rd to Patches. And then Poulin in OT, who was also nominated to the Jacques Cartier. So, yeah, it's going to be... Look, he's a hard horse to beat. I understand, he was beat last year. He was beat last year, but it took an invader to do it. Yeah, I mean, you might as well give it a go here for a purse of over $100,000. So I'm going to use, why not, the hot jockey trainer combination, and that's Kevin Attard and Pietro Moran with I'm a Gambler. I mean, you can't knock the last race because the winner was basically on his own. He had set a track record on that day as well. There's plenty to like about this horse second start.
And he didn't have the great trip. He kind of he didn't get out of the gate that great, and he's way better than what he showed us last time out. And he, as I've said since he came here, he is just a notch below a stakes winner in Toronto.
What do you think went wrong with Candy Overload? Because Candy Overload, we haven't seen him since last year in the Jacques Cartier.
Look at him. That's what his career is all about.
I know.
He's got
lots of gaps.
But he usually comes back throwing pretty good races, right?
I know. It's almost like he's got to go away, tighten the screws, and then he comes back all right. I mean, I just kind of found him, I'm going to play him here for sure today, but I thought maybe we could try and play against him. I think the other horse that interests me, just to bring him up from last year because we have the time to talk about it. Remember when Twin City got onto the turf and he found a whole new life? I'd be waiting for him on the grass this year, too.
And how good is Poulin OT right now?
Poulin OT is very good. 82 Beyer speed figure last start out, but these are some stakes horses that he's in against here today.
Yeah, it is. The one, Sky's Not Falling, that's what I said when the Leafs lost. I'm like, the sky is not falling. The sun will come up.
Right away on Facebook, he's like, next year will be our year.
That was a bit of tongue-in-cheek with that.
Oh, was it? Okay, I'm like, oh, Jeff.
Try box time. Let's talk about that because you're going to play a try box for us coming up in race number 7 on the program. We're going to go a mile and a 16th in here.
Yeah.
Maybe I think this is kind of a slam dunk because you take the Turfway horse, perfect girl, horses run well going long, and I just turn the page.
I'm going to try and beat her. I like this horse on the inside, Maxine's Magic for Cassie. Now, listen, I know the race 2 back was in against Mean to Me. Remember Mean to Me? Because that was a horse that Cassie had, and then Drexler claimed the horse, and then the horse went on after that race to win an 8 on 2. Okay, so they're not superstars. All right, but still, I think when we're going long, those winter raced horses do have a slight edge, and I understand the Turfway horses have been doing really well too. But to be very honest, this barn just hasn't been lighting things up lately.
They've been quiet.
Very, very quiet. So I'm going to play against them. I'll use the 1 and the 5 Super Serenade from Kevin Attard's barn with Pietro aboard, and then I'll use the 2 as a possible player in this race. But I think if you can, maybe box those 3 horses for a little bit of fun, and you get a horse at a better price because the money will likely show on the 2. You get a horse at a better price, you might get rewarded with a little bit of cash.
Yep. So some different numbers there, which is good. Doug's going towards the 7, the Fury one. Steve Cherkoff's got a very interesting 2-year-old racing on the program on Saturday. And Uncle Mo, I found that a little unusual.
With Patrick.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too. But you know what? I think you gotta, like I said to you, I'm gonna try and play against that one on the program just because there's some other horses in there that might have been away over the winter.
I love the babies this time of year. They're so much fun. Okay, plays. We've got those for sure. Are they going to be winning plays? I don't know. But we'll give you a solid 2 minutes to talk about your plays.
I get 2 minutes?
Okay, I'll give you a minute.
Okay.
I'll take a minute as well. How does that sound?
Okay.
And I'll
split it with
We'll
you.
give some time to Doug as well.
Okay, well, it's no surprise if you watch this show that my
yes.
boyfriend is racing today, Frog and Macho.
Yes.
I just love him. You know, and I saw Rick Hayashi, Paul Buttigieg's assistant, on Sunday, and I said, how's my man doing? So, you know, I just absolutely adore this horse, so I'm going to put him up on top as my best bet in race number 2. I'll take a flyer on this Isaac Leo, give him one more try here today. Remember, he's a big, long horse. One Jab Too Many hit my watch list, and so far my watch list is doing really well because I had a winner off the watch list, I had a second place finisher off my watch list, and I've been waiting for this horse to come back. One Jab Too Many, and I'll use Maxine's Magic to beat the favorite in the last.
Where does the watch list actually exist?
It's in a duotang.
On my Bristol board.
No, I actually have a book at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I can take a picture of it.
No, I believe
And
you.
I physically write down the horses that I like, as opposed to you and your fancy Microsoft Excel spreadsheet.
So my best bet is your buddy. My multi-lace singles can be Quiet Medalena. My one to beat, I'm a gambler, very original Jeff. And my keys in the verticals are Perfect Girl.
Well, we've had some perfect horses race pretty good here so far.
Hopefully that will be able to have some success along the way. Now Doug's going to go towards Imperial Trick in the opener. Now for Doug to make a horse a best bet in the first race, that is gutsy. Because that first race,
wow.
We'll talk about that more in depth for you coming up a little bit later on. But those are some struggling horses in race number 1. And then, oh boy, your buddy's got a lot of pressure today, Mr. Mako.
He's hot, man. That is a good-looking horse.
Now, just a quick note that I just received, courtesy of our producer. We do an overweight in the first race. The 6 is now 2 pounds over. So do make that notation.
2 pounds over? Geez, we're at 126.
No, the 6.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the 6.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 115. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
We're not talking my weight, Elisa.
Jeez, Jeffrey, what'd you have? Okay, got it.
Poor Ernie. He's had a bunch of his clock horses scratch.
I know.
Now he's down to 1 on today's program of racing, and it's going to come up in race number 6.
Yeah.
I'm a gambler.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is what happens. Like the other horse that he had, Reverse Psychology, would have been at a bit of a price.
Yeah.
But this one won't be too much of a price at all.
No, that's true. And this horse worked really well going into his last start. Obviously, things didn't go well, and let's face it, there are no patches today. There are no Filo de Arianes today as well, so that helps with the situation.
But the good news is, for those of you who wait every day to hear it, Jeff and I will have a pick 4, and we have a key.
And he's on the screen right now. Not to spoil it for you, but I'm a gambler. Going to go postward as one of our clocker horses here on today's program of racing. And you know what, too? Once we get to a lot more of the 2-year-old races, that's where Ernie becomes very instrumental too with the babies.
Yeah.
That's where, and I find he's really good too. Once we start to get horses maybe going from sprints to routes, he thinks these horses might be able to go a little bit better going around 2 turns.
Well, look, we need all the friends we can get upstairs to help us out with those babies, right? And a little inside information from the trainers goes a long way too, and we try to pass it on to you as well, so that you get the same info that we get.
So congratulations goes out to Ernie, and a nice winner. I think 2 weeks ago that was a really, really good price. So hopefully we can keep that roll going there. I'm trying to hit the post here perfectly. Not quite.
Almost.
Oh, well. So we're 25 minutes away from the opener here at Woodbine. Again, we have Woodbine Mohawk Park tonight as well. So it's the old double header, as we like to say. And parking admission is always free. The first race is going pretty much as we expected from the tote board because people don't know where to go. We'll tell you more about that when we come back once the horse arrive inside the paddock area. It's Thursday of action here from Woodbine. We'll get you